Hello, good evening, good for everyone. This is Faisal Hassan, your Member Provincial Parliament for York South Western. You are joining us live, Faisal Hassan, NDP. Tonight, we are talking about auto insurance rates, a virtual town hall meeting with residents of York South Western. And welcome those of you who are joining us Instagram Live, and those of you who are just tuned Faisal Hassan, NDP. First, I would like to acknowledge at this time, the land that we now know as York South Western is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations and Inuits, Métis peoples. Thank you for joining us tonight, and tonight we are talking an issue that is very dear to this community, that is auto insurance. Our community has been struggled under the weight of unfair auto insurance rates for some time, and it is not fair. Decent, hardworking members of our community and drivers with clean records are forced to pay higher rates simply because of where they live in our community. For many families, using a car is the only way to get to work. It is the only way to ensure they can pay the bills and be home in time to spend time with their families. We should demand better. We need to end postal code discrimination and ensure that families aren't forced to make tough choices or trim retirement savings plans. People are struggling during this pandemic. The economic burden this places on people is unnecessary and unjust, and it must be reminded. At a time when the insurance industry is enjoying record profits, we should expect fair and equitable business practices and an end to discrimination and bias our community has experienced. Thank you for joining me for this important discussion this evening, and to my guests for joining me this evening, and to you, for neighbors and friends, for joining Faisal Hassan, NDP, live at Facebook and also Instagram. I would like to welcome my guests who are ordinary, hardworking, decent members of our community who live in our community. And first, I have here tonight Mary Lou Atkinson-Hayes and Robert Heaton and Turfa Tasnim. And there will be others who will be joining us. And as soon as they do, I'll be able to introduce them and join us the discussion right on. I would first would like to introduce Mary Hay Atkins to start the discussion quickly. Just tell us a bit about yourself and the challenges of auto insurance.
Good evening, everyone. I'm a retiree and a senior in Weston, and I was looking for insurance rebates based on the fact that COVID has got many of us at home and we're not driving our vehicles. So in the summertime, when the finance minister, Mr. Phillips, announced that he was going after the insurance companies to provide some relief for people who were not driving and who had parked their car for months and months in their driveway, I was pretty excited. And I contacted a number of my neighbors and friends to find out when they were getting their rebates. And it seemed like it took a long time for the rebates to finally come. And when they did, we were all very disappointed. I think the average of the people I talked with was like $58 or $60. And if you're paying insurance for a year of over $1,000, 58 isn't very much of a rebate. Now we're into the second phase of COVID and we're being asked to stay home again. And we've all parked our cars in the driveway as best we can. And we still haven't seen another rebate. And Mr. Phillips isn't even talking about going after the insurance companies again, as far as I know. So it almost became another issue that got left, unfortunately, because COVID has taken the front piece of mind, which of course it should. But I just wonder, have the insurance companies just rubbed their hands with glee, figuring that we've forgotten? But many seniors like myself on a fixed income haven't. We're still wondering if there's any opportunity for another rebate or at least some concessions on our next insurance bills. So that's why I'm calling in tonight, because I have questions that the insurance companies and Mr. Phillips need to address.
Well, thank you. We'll be coming back to you, Mary Lou Atkins, and thank you for sharing those thoughts. I would welcome now Robert Heat, who is also a resident of York South-Weston. Welcome, Robert, and introduce yourself and talk about a bit about the challenges you have on auto insurance.
Okay, I'm Robert Heath. I live in Weston too. The biggest problems I fought when I first started to drive my own car, because I needed it at the time, I was about 23 years old. I was discriminated against on grounds of my age, sex, and marital status at the time. But you know, you try to do as much as you can to be a good driver. You know, everybody wants to be a good driver. Nobody wants to go out and crash cars and cause havoc. Well, this thing was okay because the car I was always driving was a nice Mazda 323 during the 1980s and 1990s. But then after September 11th, I was paying $600, but after September 11th, my insurance shocked up to $1,800. And I asked them, why is it that? Well, you have to understand that the insurance base is going up, and after what happened 7-Eleven with the Twin Towers and all, I said, hey, that's not my fault. You cannot make me pay the recovery insurance that you guys paid out somewhere else in this world. They couldn't care less. Then as time was going on, and I found out, and I can understand too, that if you live, when I moved to Hamilton in the early 90s and was there for 3 years for schooling, my insurance went down because it's based on, you're in Toronto, you're going to have big chance of getting an accident. It was probably higher than it was living in Hamilton. So my insurance was low in Hamilton until I moved back to Toronto. The big problem was that when they started doing it based on your postal code, I checked into this. And I found out that people here in Weston, out in Scarborough, technically where the low-lying areas are, the people were paying higher rates, yet Rosedale, which is a big area, which is a lot of rich people live, were paying lower. And I said, why is that happening? And they said, well, they're not having accidents. I said, bull crap. You know, their cars are a lot more expensive than what my car was. Why are they paying lower? Then it started going, and then after I got to admit, when I split with my wife, I couldn't afford the insurance anymore, so I sold my car and stopped the insurance. Next thing you know, they started tacking it onto my house insurance. I said, why? Well, we have to recuperate, you know. I said, I'm not driving the car anymore. But they wanted me through my house insurance to start paying for someone's auto insurance because what they classify quotation as problems people. So I ended up switching to another insurance company, and I saw my insurance went down immediately because the guy says, we can give you all that, but the reason why some insurance companies are doing this is because they're trying to recuperate things that other people took. Why should I have to pay for someone else's mistakes, bad driving, and the whole bit? The biggest problem came up, and it probably all read in the newspaper about 3 years ago, where a person was fired from an insurance company because she said, wait a minute. It even went down to the point that if you live in a certain postal code, it got down to the point, we're not going to insure you, period. Guess where those insurance codes were? Bramalea, a very high South Asian and Oriental people live in that area. They suddenly come down to the point, I would say through racial discrimination, using that example to stop paying, like to stop insuring people because where they live. I can understand. I live in Toronto. I got to pay a higher rate. My older sister lives out in the country, east of Aurora, north of Stouffville, out in the country there. I can understand the chance of her getting into an accident is going to be very lower. She pays a lower rate. But this idea based on your postal code, no, it should never happen. You think we're paying it here? The people in Ottawa are paying based on their postal code? Peel region, Thunder Bay, all based on postal code. And the hardest thing is, if you have an accident in Thunder Bay, doesn't it really affect their people's rate because you had an accident there, even though you lived here in Toronto? They come back here and they nail you here in Toronto.
Very good. We'll come to you. We'll come to you.
Okay, one more, Faisal. That should not happen at all.
No, absolutely. I hear you. I hear you. The person who's joining us on Ash Fake who is that? And could you please also identify yourself quickly? Is that the same?
That's my husband.
Tarfra? Yeah, no?
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. Can you hear me now?
But could you come to the camera?
Yeah, sure.
You need the camera to come first. Yeah. So that.
Yeah.
There you go.
And you are?
My name is Ashfaqul Haq. So I live in 10 Marthaton Way, and my wife is also online joining this meeting.
Okay, and okay, here you are. Very good.
Yeah.
So I'll turn now to Tarfa Tasnim. Quickly.
Yes.
That's you, right? Go ahead. Yes.
Yes. So that was my husband.
Oh yes.
Yes, we live in those buildings near Black Creek and Trethui, and we've been living there for the last 4 years. It's our first home there. Yes, and I became a citizen here. I voted for the first time here, so I feel part of the community, and I want to raise my voice now that I have one. Before I couldn't. My insurance rate started off really high, but I guess I was young. About 4 or 5 years ago, on a G2 license. I lived in Brampton at the time, and then I moved here. So I started with $320 per month, and then it went down to $270 or $80, or I think it dropped really low to $214 at once because I was getting some discount for my husband who attended the driving school in order to get his G license. So that was great. From $320 to $214, that was great. And mind you, I never had like a full-time job any of this time. My husband, he did, but I always was on contract jobs, moving from one job to another. Whereas I was the one who needed the car all the time because I was in school at one point and all my jobs were at a further distance away. And then the discount got taken away some year, and they said that discount didn't apply. It only applied for 1 year, and it shot back up to $260 or $270. And we have been in that range since the last 2-3 years. Every year we keep hoping that it would go down because we've never had any claim. And I thought at least that would be an indication that we deserve the lower lowering of our monthly premiums. But every year they keep telling us the same thing, that this area or accidents in general in Toronto have gone up. And even though it doesn't affect me or my neighborhood, it affects all of us in Toronto. And, I don't know how the insurance business works. I know all of our money maybe goes into this one big pool from where they pull out when an accident or a claim happens, no matter where that person lives. Whatever it may be, whatever their business model is, it just doesn't seem fair to the person who's driving carefully, and being, following the rules and just being a good driver. That's my point. There should be a reward system for people like us who are good drivers. And during pandemic, I guess I'm one of the lucky ones where my husband still has work. But it just seems like such a waste spending $260 on a car that I don't even use that much. And I never collected the CERB or any of that. But I wish if that was much lower, that's another $100, $150 every month I can save for, God forbid, if my husband were to lose his job or something. It just seems like a waste to me. where I don't see, the benefit of paying out this money for years.
Well, absolutely. It's not fair that people being targeted because of their postal code, and this is unacceptable. And that's why we have been fighting this. I'll bring a bit Ashfaq to say a few words for your also experience quickly before I go to Mr. Gabriel Selassie.
Yeah, sure. So I work for TD Bank, and I also worked with TD Auto Insurance, fortunately. So I know nitty-gritty of this thing and how they target people. So it's a big corporation, unfortunately. Like we, as a general public, can't do anything about it. It's like everything is digital nowadays, and there are algorithms to find out these details, and based on that, TD also ensure that insurance. The main reason that me and my wife is actually joined this meeting, like right now we are working from home, and my wife is also home, so we are not even using that car that much, but still we are paying like $260 per month. That's a waste of money, and I think it's not fair to any of us. Like we are paying for not using, and like we are not getting any even rewards for being a good driver. So we don't have any tickets. We don't have, like, we never got any tickets, but the insurance is just keep going up. That's it.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your point. And I'll bring our guest this evening also, Gabriel Selassie. First, introduce yourself and tell us about your experience on auto insurance.
Okay. My name is Gabriel Selassie, and my experience is the price of the auto insurance is very high. It's very high, and I think it's a very good chance to talk about it at this point in time. And because it is very, very, very important for us here in this area. So it's very high. And considering, for example, I'm a senior now, so it's really high.
I hear you, and I know that this community, I know that as your representative, and have said that and spoke at the legislature, the discrimination based on postal code has to come to an end. And it should be based, as you said, many of you, that your driving record and also your the track record of your behavior in terms of driving and history should mean something. But here in this province, it doesn't. Another thing is they divide into 50 zones, the entire province, and each zone is different, the charges they make. I would also welcome those of you who are joining us Instagram and Facebook, Faisal Hassan MDB. There are those of you who are sending your questions rather, and comments. I have now one question quickly that just came before I come back to you. I will quickly read. Sikeria Black asks, how will the government intervene to regulate the cost of auto insurance? It is absolutely ridiculous how expensive this is, especially knowing there are many countries that enjoy affordable and reasonable rates. Well, thank you, Mr. Black, because I know that not only other countries, other provinces of our great country has a better auto insurance, and they have lower rates. Even members of the Ontario communities, some neighborhoods, even in Toronto, some neighborhoods pay less than us because of the zoning that they have created, and it is not fair. And also I would like to add, before I answer your question, that the Liberals let Ontarians down since they have been 15 years governing this province by also breaking their promise in 2013 to support the NDP's call to lower auto insurance rates by 15%. And I think the way to do it is to say we don't need a postal code, we don't need a credit history. What we need a fair system that your driving history should mean something, and it has to be fair and it has to be reasonable. And that's, I think, and that's the way to do it. We can also eliminate the entire 15 zones and have one zone based on who you are as a driver. That would be a fair system to me. But tonight we have our community members who are also leaders in our community, experienced on auto problems that caused by consecutive liberal and conservative governments. And also now in the middle of the pandemic, people, as many of you have mentioned, that many of the people are working at home and therefore they're not driving. Still, the auto insurance is going to the roof. That is not fair. Mary Lou Haynes, I know that this government, you mentioned that should be giving breaks, should be giving support to drivers. And as you mentioned, the finance minister have promised it, but he hasn't delivered it. What do you say to that?
Well, it's rather frustrating because now we're in the second phase of a lockdown. Our cars are in the driveway. We're not going anywhere. And as the other people have said, we're still paying insurance for not driving. And as I'm a senior on a fixed income, and that just doesn't make sense to me or to anyone who is working from home these days and hasn't moved their car out of their driveway to pay the rates that they are paying. And as the finance minister was so happy to share back in June and did almost nothing, I'm still waiting for him to let the other shoe drop and get something going, because especially with this lockdown and the number of people in our community who are losing their jobs or are struggling to make their payments, this just isn't fair.
Very good. And I think I'll just, my office did an experiment about just doing, kind of profiling a 30-year-old woman who drives a Honda with, a spotless record car using the same code generator. We sought the lowest premiums for a driver. In some neighborhoods, it goes down to 1,200. But in my own office address here is $3,259 per year because of being right here in York City. And that is not right. The same thing also, a member of our community moved to Kawartha area and her auto insurance reduced drastically, declined 50%. And that has nothing to do, in my opinion, any accident history or any such things, because majority of our community members are decent, hardworking. Majority of them don't have even accidents in their entire life. And still they're paying higher premiums. And I think it's come to we have to understand why the real reasons for this discrimination remains unclear to me. And Robert, why do you think this is happening?
It's happening, I would say, probably for one thing, it's greed. But I would also say that when you look at certain places that are paying based on their postal code, like I said earlier, you look at Bramalea. What people live in Bramalea? Then you go down to Rosedale. What people live in Rosedale? Yet Rosedale's got very expensive cars. I was spent 4 months working down there, renovating a house, and I couldn't believe the cars that they were driving, but they were paying a very low rate. Why are they paying a lower rate for an expensive car? Well, people up here may get second or third hand cars to try and, like a few people here, to go to school or go to work in, end up paying through the nose, of these higher things. I got a slight feeling, yes, it could be based on, and it happens to be that I probably got caught up, but even here in Weston, there's a mixture of people who are visible minorities, immigrants, these type of thing. And I got a slight feeling it's based on discrimination. And the biggest point is, like I said, 3 years ago, when that one girl who got fired from an insurance company because she brought it forward, the discriminatory method that they were doing, to the point they were telling, they were going to say, you're in this postal code, we are not going to insure you, because it's based on the race of the people that are living there. This is the problem they're going to have. I didn't like the problem when it was first brought up, and the NDP brought it up, and it was a private member bill from an NDP MPP that wanted to stop it. The Conservatives come in and they said, well, we'll put it in there that it's not to be the only source used to grade somebody and how much insurance they pay. But the problem is they're still using it because they didn't outlaw the idea. Based on your driving record, based on how well you want to work, maybe even if you use your car a lot more than compared to somebody who doesn't use it much, yeah, I can see that. But based on where you live, it should not be done, period.
I agree, and that's very important. I think my colleague from MPP from Humber River Black Creek, Tom Rokosevich, actually tabled a private member's bill to end auto insurance gouging, and also my colleague Groton Singh from Brampton East has also put a bill to end postal code discrimination. And I know that on April 23rd, Ford Conservatives vote to let our auto insurance keep gouging drivers continues. The Conservatives voted down MPP Rokosevich's private members bill, Lower Automobile Insurance Rates Act, and the bill also would have forced auto insurance companies to crack open their books and shed more light on this through annual reporting requirements, which we need to know exactly why this is happening, so we know, and the community and the constituents like our community should know why this is happening. Again, that this Conservative government has also voted down. And that was also something that my colleague and my neighbor from Humber River, Black Creek, has put forward. He's also our official opposition auto insurance critic as well. And Ford government approving a massive increases to auto insurance, making life less affordable for members of our community and for Ontarians. And NDP, I mean, we are already paying, Ontarians already pay the highest auto insurance premiums in the country, despite being amongst the safest drivers and the most decent and hardworking members of our community right here, you know, pay high. And every year it goes up continuously for the entire lifetime. It has never went down or reduced, you know, and this is a consistency across the board, you know, I mean, tell me your story. You're here. I will bring maybe Tarfa, because has your insurance went up, went down? I mean,
Just once.
okay.
When I moved from Brampton, I lived in Brampton just for like 13 months. The renewal came exactly when I was moving. So my postal code changed that year, and also my husband got a G license. So I don't know if the huge dip from 320 to 214 was because of that. That's what they told me, that because of the postal code change, and also mainly was because my husband had that driving school certificate. So I was very happy because I did hear from friends and family who've lived in Canada for many years that every year it goes down if you have a clean record. So I thought this was the beginning. But the second year from 214, it went back up again at 245 or 250. And then it has never come down. It just keeps going up every year. Even this year, last year, I was pregnant. I was not working. And I was the one who used to take the car to work. My husband uses TTC. So barely we drove except for entertainment and grocery shopping or whatever. Again, no claims. So this year I was looking forward to maybe a dip, a reduction, and with the COVID hitting as well, but it went up. Instead of even remaining the same, it went up. And I had to, and that's when I think I emailed your office that I was so upset that I want to go and protest about this. I want to go out and sit somewhere regarding this because I'm just so frustrated of seeing my bank account being robbed of this money every month where I don't see any benefit. And then I called the insurance companies. I got a lot of support from my community who were like, call this company, call that company. And I did my research. Nowhere was I getting anything cheaper. Maybe $10 less a month, maybe $10, $12 less a month, which I actually found out after my renewal. All this took up my time and renewal kicked in and I couldn't do much. I called the insurance company. The only thing they did was they kept it similar because I told them I was going to drive, like I'm driving less. I reduced my mileage. But I actually, being part of this conversation, I have a question myself. I had no idea about the discrimination part with the postal code because I thought sincerely maybe people in certain postal codes are maybe more reckless drivers. Because I lived in Brampton, I witnessed a lot of racing on the street. I live right across from Queen Street, and at night these kids would come out with their fancy cars and start racing. So I could assume that, okay, people there, maybe not everybody, but because of one or two reckless drivers, accidents happen there maybe, and that's why we were victims of the higher postal, of this postal code discrimination. But then I moved here, and in Toronto, people from all over the place come to drive here. So if I got into an accident of no fault of my own, if someone else hits me who's coming from a different postal code or outside of Toronto, I hear that my premiums will go up too. That doesn't make sense to me. So is it really true that it's because of the people of the community or the race of that postal code that these rates are determined? Because this is a completely new information for me.
Yeah, absolutely, you're right. I mean, this is basically, you know, they divide the entire province into 52 zones, and then they decide a rates based on where you live. It's not about your driving record. It's not the car you drive, and that's not what, you know, the basis of auto insurance should be based on. And that, to me, is direct creating unfair system where certain communities will pay less and other communities will be asked to pay more. And the justification for them is certain communities have more accidents, but those reports are not public. We don't even know if these are statistics or facts where there are more. I mean, if you have well-to-do communities have a brand new cars, and most likely theft might happen there because they might have a brand new, you know, cars and so forth. And but they're not reporting. They're not telling us where the majority of the theft of cars are happening, and so forth. That's why we wanted, my colleague wanted reportings to know what's happening on that, so that we are informed and know exactly what they are basing on this in terms of the auto insurance. I'll bring on Gabriel, for example. Has any time in the past, I know these auto insurance goes up continuously. Has it been any time it went lower than normal, or is it continuously going up in your case?
In my case, it is continuously going up, continuously without stopping. That's why sometimes I'm very angry and I don't know what to do. But, you know, you cannot get them. You cannot talk to them. There are many ways you can get to them, but it's hard. It's hard. So I never saw going down.
So it goes continuously.
Yeah.
Okay. So rather than, so that's exactly what that's why those of you who are joining us live, Faisal Hassan, NDP, you're joining us tonight. We're here discussing and talking about a virtual town hall meeting.
This is pretty good.
Auto insurance rates. In our community, people pay more. Some of the stories is about some people are paying $700 a month, $500 a month, and more. And Mary Lou Haynes, I'll bring you in. How is about your experience? Has it also the same, as other guests, or is it different?
No, I'm finding that my insurance has gone up, and I think it is based on the postal code, because I have sisters in other places in Ontario, and they are about my age, and they drive about the same as I do with no accidents, and they pay a lot less.
You see, so that is, we are calling a postal code discrimination to end, and we are calling government
It's based on your driving record.
and we don't want them switching into credit history. That too is another form of discrimination. We only want auto insurance to be based on the driving record of the person and the kind of car you drive. And that is, to me, it should be the only two criteria for auto insurance basis. I will also bring, if there's any questions, and definitely I will welcome you, those who are joining us live. We'll try our best to read your comments and also try to also answer those questions as well. Also, I will welcome those of you who are joining us live on Instagram. And unfortunately, I won't be able to read your comments, but we'll be able to, if you join us on Facebook, Faisal Hassan MPP, we will be able to do that. And the MPP is calling for half price auto insurance during a pandemic. We want 50% break auto insurance payments for months, and let people who have lost a job or income defer payments during the COVID-19 pandemic. Drivers shouldn't have to pay full price auto insurance while they do their part to help prevent the spread of COVID and staying at home. And that is clearly majority of the people have been law abiding, have been following the rules, have been working at home, have been staying, and have been only going out for essentials. Therefore, their auto insurance rates should go down and shouldn't be auto insurance. It should be legislated. Auto insurance prices have been rising steadily, and you hear our guests tonight have confirmed that the auto insurance goes up continuously. From two conservative governments to lower them hasn't happened. I think Robert wants to say something. Yeah, come in.
Well, the thing is, the only time I'd known the insurance ever went down was in 1973. And that's when they lowered the highway traffic speed from 70 miles an hour down to 60. So it's like doing 115 kilometers down to 100 kilometers. And they made seat belts compulsory to be worn. So that was the only time I've ever seen it going down. After that, it started a steady incline. And when the Ontario government got rid of this $100 you pay a year and you're covered by but if you get into an accident, you have to pay the government back for the thing. When that came to an end and the Automobile Insurance Act came into playing, now it became compulsory. You had to have it. So it started going up a bit more. And then when Mike Harris brought in that if you don't have automobile insurance, you're fined $5,000. Before that was $300. Now it's up to $5,000. So now the insurance company knows they've got you. Because if you don't have it, you're nailed.
Well, we're asking them fair. We're asking a fair system, and an NDP government will definitely tackle these kinds of discriminations and ask a fair a system where the auto insurance should not be costing us 500, 700, 200 people. This is not acceptable. And all full stock auto insurance is going up again. And the provincial government signs off on every auto insurance rate hike in Ontario to approve them, despite auto accidents being down 75%. That's the statistics. The auto accidents went down 75%. Still, it's going up. So it has no relation to what they're telling us. It's where you live and how affluent community you are. and that's how they are determined.
That is the saddest part. Sorry to interrupt, because like in this day and age, all the company has a lot of data, and data like even whenever we go to the COVID-19 dashboard, we can see all the data, all the category, like where people are getting affected much. So for like, what's the point of having all the data if those are not good for people? So this company, like this big insurance company, has our even driving pattern data. So I work in like kind of in this field, so I know that they can actually personalize offer for people, but they are not doing it because they don't have to. So they are making money and they are okay with it.
Yes, and thank you. I mean, the point here is that if auto accidents are being down 75%, and the idea of dividing Ontario into 52 zones for the purposes of charging different rates in different regions because of no facts, no data reporting, no transparency, no accountability, we can't allow our community be continuously charged more auto insurance simply because of where we live. It's unacceptable. Ontarians need Ford to step up and lower auto insurance rates. Exactly, that's what we want. We want him to come and be do exactly what the communities of Ontario wants. And we wanted auto insurance to be lowered, and we want also relief of people who are in the middle of a pandemic. And that's also a very important. So I will bring up Mary Hain. What has been your experience overall, and how do you think we can help community like ours? I think Mary Lou Haynes has frozen there. I will come to quickly Turfa. I know you've talked about the experiences that auto insurance has not been fair to you and your family, and it's still going up and up. What message are you going to send for tonight?
If the thing that I want to point out is I have been driving for since 2015, so I'm maybe considered a young driver, but seeing the history and you know, like we have senior citizen here and other people who know what it used to be like in the 70s and all, it doesn't look good for me. I mean, I don't want to be living in a country where one day I might be a senior with a much limited lower income and I'm going to have to pay auto insurance every month, where I might have a good clean driving record. So if there are people who are watching who are young people like me, I'm in my 30s, I'm 32, I think I've stopped counting. But I want to say that I think we have to speak up. We have to raise our voice because you might think, oh, we're young now, we can push through anything, we can work or whatever. But, you know, things catch up, bills catch up, and costs in Toronto is always catching up faster than your income. And auto insurance is a big chunk, which is just not giving me anything in return. Every other expense, whether it's food or rent, I'm using it every day, but this is something that I don't get any return from. And if it is by, you know, a racial postal code discrimination that was applied, like, I don't know, some 20 years ago, I don't think we are there anymore. I believe we are a much more acceptable, multicultural, diverse community where we accept everybody regardless of those things. And I am actually very concerned that if this promise is something that has been made previously before and has been constantly, you know, the government doesn't want to acknowledge it. It's very concerning for me as a young person who has decided to live in this country for an indefinite period of time because it's very expensive. And, you know, I drive good, I drive well, I follow the rules because every year I hope that it will go down. And there was one time I'm with Desjardins and they had introduced some kind of device that I had to stick to my car where they would monitor my braking, my speeding, a lot of stuff for 1 year. And based on that, they said, oh, you're eligible for 20% discount. So at that renewal, I think, I think I did get a little bit of a dip twice. One was when I moved from Brampton to North York, and the second one was during that device. But then it went back up again, and it's never going down. And I'm very concerned if that's just how it's going to be indefinitely, because it shouldn't be. I lived in Montreal too for a short time. They pay very low. And people in Montreal, I think, don't follow rules at all. They drive like how people drive in Paris, which is like drive and just don't hit anybody. And they pay so much less, and it was shocking. It was just shocking when I bought a car in Toronto and start paying so much money. It's just outrageous.
Well, thank you. And I think that's why I think it's important that we have a government that you deserve, that addresses the issues important to you. An NDP government certainly will tackle this issue once and for all. And also, the last 15 years, we had the Liberals to tackle this issue. They let us down. They could not even keep their promise, the support of 2013 with the NDP 15% lowering. They haven't even delivered that, as I mentioned earlier. I know that we're coming to close to 8 o'clock, and I want to give an opportunity to each and every one of you to reflect what message and what exactly message we want to send. As you know that on Wednesday, the legislature has been adjourned, and we wanted the legislature to to continue tackling the issues important to our community and the people of Ontario. And what would you be sending it? I'll bring to Gabralul quickly. Are you there? Well, I will bring again. Okay, yes, Gabralul. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, for concluding remarks, and what would you send to this government?
Okay. I think my iPhone is getting lower, but I hope that at least before the COVID is over, we have to see this premium go down. Because we have many problems, and my hope is it's very dangerous at this point in time to see things like this. It adds up to what you have in your mind, and it's not good, So I hope, and with your help, this premium will go down very sooner than expected.
Well, thank you, Gabrielulu. And I'll bring Mary Lou Haynes. Can you hear me there?
Yes.
Yes.
I would like to suggest to the government and to members like yourself who have a voice for us that we keep this issue on the front burner. We need to keep going after the government to work with the insurance companies to do something for us, because every year, all of us cannot afford to keep having insurance increases such as we've been seeing in the last several. And, for some people, they might think, oh, well, it's only $20 or $30 that it's gone up. But to a lot of people in our community, that's a huge amount of money that they need to put food on their tables. And it just isn't right that they don't have a voice other than the members who are working hard to try and represent us. And so if there's any message at all, is I would like to encourage people like yourself who are voted in by us to keep after it and not to give up, because we really need your help.
Thank you. Absolutely. You can count on me fighting on these issues. I have spoken many occasions at the legislature. We have put my team, my members of the official opposition, my colleague from Brampton East has put a bill, specifically members bill on auto insurance. Also my colleague from Humber River Black Creek also put another bill as well, dealing with postal code and lowering and having a transparency on these issues. Both times this government let us down. and has not supported in this regard. I'll bring quickly Ashfaq quickly to concluding our remarks and what message we'll be sending to this current government.
So thank you for arranging this meetup. So definitely it's a very good thing that we are discussing. So the concluding thing from my side would be like, we have been actually waiting for long to things like that to happen, but it did not happen, at least for my 5 years I've been waiting this thing to see it's going live. And in Ontario, we're actually paying a lot for other things too, like housing, for even phone bill. If other
Or other company can
we should be able to do that too, and it's a high time that we take control of it.
Thank you very much. That's why we want to hear your concerns, and that's why tonight we have had this town hall meeting to raise it, and we'll continue to raise it to make sure to also sponsor another private member's bill to advance this issue to make sure that the community's concerns is addressed. I'll come to one more time to Tarfa, what you think to concluding comments quickly before I go to Robert Heath.
I just want to say that we should be focusing on this issue because I don't think anywhere I can afford to live because of my, limitations where I have to be close to my parents and all of that. I can't move anywhere where I can pay a cheaper insurance rate. And also, like my husband pointed out, that the cost of other things such as phone bill, internet bills, and rent and mortgage, cost of housing is so expensive. It just doesn't seem fair to pay high auto insurance rate as well. And also this is kind of concerning to me how like more people are not are okay with this, and we are not really concerned about this. And COVID is the perfect time to raise this issue where we are in fear of losing our income, and it's just an extra few dollars that we could save for that rainy day, which nobody ever wants. But right now the rainy day is here. It's raining, and I'm fearful, and I have only my husband to work for us, and I don't want to be in fear that would I be able to pay my car insurance, because if I don't have car insurance, I can't use my car. And I don't want to drive out there thinking I have to be fearful of that. And there were times I even considered maybe we should just cancel our insurance because we're not driving anywhere. But then I found out that if you do and then you renew, it is even higher. So we're like, okay, we're stuck, so let's just keep paying. We shouldn't have to live like this. So and I hope that the government is going to. I voted for NDP, so I was very happy when you guys won. So I hope that maybe you guys can help us out, because you guys are out there being our voice. And yeah, let's just hope for the best.
Well, thank you very much. We will not let you down. We will also not take your vote for granted. We'll work very hard to earn your trust and confidence, and we'll continue to do that. I'll come to Robert to reflect, and what message will you be sending to this current government?
Okay, thank you for having me in tonight. It was nice, and it's nice bringing this topic up. And it's always been a hot topic over the past 30 years of people coming up because their insurance are going to go up higher than inflation rates are going to go up. I myself am a single parent of children that are still in grade school. Like I said, when I split with my wife, I got rid of the car because I couldn't afford it. I got to depend on TTC because right now I'm working as a carpenter. It depends on where I get from the Carpenters Union, where I can go work around. But I always tell them somewhere in Toronto so I can take transit. I lost out on jobs not having a car, because better paying jobs, because they're not within the Toronto area. They're outside the area where people, where the jobs are everything is starting to grow. So the fact is that, to me, having it based on someone's postal code, like I said, is wrong. And it's even coming down to the point that it's actually being used as a racial discrimination against certain race and people because of where they live within that postal code. Good example, Bramley. And even to the point is that if they can start using postal code to raise your rate, what's to stop them from using your postal code to say, we're not going to insure you because you live in that postal code? It comes down to a point, it's going to be for a racial purpose. It is not going to be those who are a terrible driver. It's not going to be those who wants to drive an expensive car. And it's not for those who wants to use their car an awful lot more compared to some people who may use it just to drive to the grocery store to get their grocery and drive home again. These are things that's got to be, only should be taken into consideration, not postal code. And so hopefully you put that bill back in ASAP into the parliament, sorry, the legislation, and get it pushed through and push these guys through. Because I can tell you right now, it may not be much now, but I can see within a year to year and a half time, maybe 2 years time, a lot of things are going to go up because people are going to try now to gain back what they lost during COVID. And having the insurance company want to gain money during, collect money during COVID, and then turn around and want to raise it in, that's wrong. Postal code out. What your driving record, what type of car you drive, and how often you use it is what it should be based on, period.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And those of you who have been joining us live for Faisal Hassan MDP, also thank you. We won't be able to read your comments tonight and also read also your questions, but thank you for joining us. Yeah. Also, those of you joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. As we heard from our guests tonight, the issue of auto insurance is a point of pain in many households. Having spoken to many residents over the years, I know this is an issue that touches every corner of York South-Weston. We are all prepared to pay our fair share, but postal code discrimination is a clear injustice that must be ended. I have witnessed amazing things happen with the support of the community. I take solace in the fact that so many of you support these efforts. I will continue the fight at Queen's Park to work until the day we can finally end postal code discrimination in our province. Thank you again for me, and also those of you joining us as well. Say to you, thank you, and good night, my friends. And that's for our town hall meeting tonight. I appreciate for joining us and sharing your story. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.